Back in old-timey days, As You Like It probably was first performed in 1599. It must have been one of the first plays to be performed by Lord Chamberlain's men in their new Globe Theatre, erected in 1599. Henry V and Julius Caesar were also performed in 1599, seemingly at the Globe. As You Like It may have been the first among these. The company included about 10 adult males, most of whom, like Shakespeare, were sharers in the company's financial fortunes. One of Shakespeare's younger brothers reported having seen Will Shakespeare in one of his own comedies, wherein, being to impersonate a decrepit old man, he wore a long beard and appeared so weak and drooping and unable to walk that he was forced to be supported and carried by another person to a table, at which he was seated among some company who were eating, and one of them sung a song. This suggests that Shakespeare took the role of Old Adam in As You Like It. The part of Touchstone may have been played by Robert Armin, a recent arrival in the company as a replacement for Will Kemp, who had left early in 1599. The shift in comic roles in Shakespeare's plays from Bottom the Weaver and Dogberry, presumably well-suited to Kemp's comic style, to the more philosophical Touchstone, and then Lavache in All's Well That Ends Well and the Fool in King Lear, does suggest that Shakespeare wrote his clown parts with two distinctive clowning traditions in mind. The other adult actors in the original As You Like It would presumably have included Richard Burbage, John Hemmings, Augustine Phillips, Henry Condell, Will Sly, and Richard Cowley. The company seems to have included 4 boys to play the roles of Rosalind, Celia, Phoebe, and Audrey. Of these, the boys playing Rosalind and Celia must have been the pick of the lot in experience and acting skill. Paired boy actors, particularly of unequal height, were also used in A Midsummer Night's Dream, around 1595, for the parts of Hermia and Helena. As You Like It was not published until the Folio Collection edition of 1623. The play must have pleased its original audience in 1599, but it disappears from records of public performances until a revival of sorts at Drury Lane in 1723, not quite what Shakespeare intended. Charles Johnson's adaptation called Love in a Forest borrowed the play within a play of Pyramus and Thisbe from Midsummer in order to provide entertainment for Duke Sr. and his forest mates. Some lines, imported from the first act of Richard II, added intensity to the confrontation of Orlando and the wrestler Charles, who was now transformed into the fencer Charles, so that blue-blooded 18th century audiences could enjoy a rapier duel in place of the kind of throwdown that gave the plebs their jollies back in the day. In this version, Jacques had the hots for Celia, hitting on her with lines cribbed from Benedick in Much Ado About Nothing. The love affairs of Sylvius and Phoebe, and of William and Audrey, along with the antics of Sir Oliver Martext and Corin, were tossed like so many peeled orange rinds, and in a depressing twist, Charles confessed that he had been manipulated by Orlando's brother Oliver to accuse Orlando of treason, whereupon Oliver died the death of a stage villain. You know, to make the audience feel like there was some great moral to the whole thing. Poor Shakespeare. He borrows his stuff from Tom Lodge, only to have it dumped upon by that smarmy twerp Charles Johnson. There were other abuses done to the original work as well, along with other abusers, but it hurts too much to talk about, so let's just go on. Fast forward to the 20th century, please. As You Like It becomes a scenic designer's dream and almost surely a tech crew's nightmare. At His Majesty's Theatre in 1907, under the direction of Oscar Ashe, 2,000 pots of ferns and cartloads of leaves were imported weekly to create the aura of a real forest. Sir Frank Benson continued this tradition at Stratford-upon-Avon, with productions nearly every year from 1910 to 1919, featuring elaborately painted canvas flats, a carpet of leaves on the stage, and costumes in autumnal colors. Can you picture that in your head? Beautiful. But man, those poor techies. This realistic vein of production continues on into the present day, especially in open-air performances in New York's Central Park, London's Regent's Park, Haddington Hill Park in Oxford, and still others, like our production. Mostly. At the same time, however, a modern staging approach has questioned such theatrical orthodoxy, rebelling against this sort of bucolic bliss and saccharine sentimentality. Nigel Playfair's production at Stratford-upon-Avon in 1919 was so intentionally devoid of the usual scenery and costumes that many spectators were unhappy. Harcourt Williams employed a wintry set in his 1932 to 1933 production at the Old Vic. One particularly striking production in a modernist vein was directed by Declan Donnellan. In a canvas box set mounted on a plain wooden floor, the forest was invoked by green banners cascading down from the flies. The all-male cast, clothed at first in black trousers and white shirts, then in working clothes for the Duke's followers and unpadded long dresses for the female roles, were on stage from start to finish, coming forward from an outer circle when involved in stage action. Some actors played bits of jazz, especially in the carnivalesque finale. Super out there, right? Well, we're not going to the proletariat jazz thing, and we're not going the stark or depressing route. It's fairy dust and fantasy for us, back more or less to what Shakespeare wrote in the first place.